deterioration in my district. So in July of 2010, I had a meeting for my constituents who had these concerns. We had 50 plus people there. We listened to them. We took notes. After reviewing everything and listening to these people, what it came down to was not rental properties, was not landlords. It was bad landlords. Bad. Now, I brought this forward because of my constituents. Not because I didn't have anything other to do than just say, well, I'm going after landlords. I am a landlord. I want everybody to know I've got 5 units. I probably received emails in favor of doing something to go after the bad property managers, the bad property owners. A lot of them. I got 2 that were screaming that we're going to cost them money. Whoa, I've been in business all my life. I didn't go in business to lose money. You're going to buy rental properties to lose money? Think about it. It's about the money. I got stuck for $2,800 on 1 unit in damages, not counting the rent they stiffed me for. I know that's nothing. You're right. But I stay on top of them. It's a bad situation out there. And the people that were negative to doing something about a business, now let's face it, rental units, housing are a business. It is an unregulated business. Some of you people will shake your head, no. Well, you know what? I'm here to explain to you why we arrived at this ordinance, because constituents had concerns. Now, we spent 6+ years. We looked at ordinances in Illinois. We looked at ordinances in Wisconsin. Municipalities had them. And every one of the areas that I'm talking about had a reduction in overall blight, overall deterioration, and even crime. The numbers proved it out. And then they had people over the years calling me up. What are you trying to do? Well, we're trying to address this. Well, you can't do it that way. What way can we do it? Nobody has a solution. They got accusations. They become very, very mean-spirited. Nobody has a solution. So when we turned around and we did a draft, came forward with it, the state of Wisconsin, our legislators, all Republicans, voted for it. They're the majority. They do not want municipalities to have the control to address problems that are created by bad management and bad property owners. All Republicans. They're taking away the ability of municipalities to control problems. I went through that. Called up one of our representatives up there. Act 176 alone, the last act. 50 Republicans voted for it, 28 Democrats. That's all they had in the legislature, or the state of representatives. What's fair? What's in the best interest of cities overall? Cities are comprised of neighborhoods. The strength and the vitality of a neighborhood, as far as peace goes, as far as pride goes, doesn't rest just on the landlords. It rests on the homeowners, on the absentee landlords, but you have an element in there that makes all landlords look bad. And that's not fair. Not fair to the good landlords. I went to a few landlord association meetings. after I explained to them what it was all about, they were receptive. They wanted more. They wanted to hear more. And I'm willing to give them more. HUD just passed a ruling now. You cannot, as a landlord, and Mr. Lambo, correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot use a criminal background to deny somebody a rental unit. Is that true?
You can use one.
You can use it now?
Yes, you can.
Can you?
Yeah, I believe you can.
Because I just heard from somebody that's on the board that you can't.
You can't.
I didn't get a chance to look into that. But anyway, it comes down to what the laws are. You know, and getting back to the article, the Kenosha News, the last paragraph is correct. The honest thing to do is just have a town hall meeting and let them know where we're at and what other municipalities are doing. When you look up at northern Wisconsin up there, you look at La Crosse, you look at Beloit, you look at Waukesha, they were challenged by landlord associations, lobbyists. They went to court. The lower courts ruled in the municipality's favor. They appealed it to the state level. They ruled against the lower courts. Now Oshkosh, in the meantime, had implemented theirs. And they were taken to task. Oshkosh appealed it to the higher court, federal court. We're waiting for a decision on that. It's kind of funny how you have government for the people, and you got levels of government, they got different opinions. That's why we got the problems we have today. So, when you look at what I did, I contacted a gentleman in Senator Frank Lasay's office, a staff worker, Mr. Kovac. I talked to Mr. Kovac about what was going on, and he said, and I came right out and I said, is there any way we can get an amendment to what you have within Act 176 that would give the city, the municipalities, a little latitude for addressing these problems? His response was, Mr. Lasay wouldn't consider it because it'd be too much of a financial burden on the landlords, on the tenants, or everybody. It doesn't make sense to me. When you're in business, now if you go buy a pair of pants, go buy a shirt. If the cost to the retailer goes up, you pass that cost along. And the cost of these programs are minimal. They're just administrative costs, to cover the administrative costs. And talking to some of the constituents in my district, and I had some of the people that were attending the meeting from outside the district, they felt they could live with that. I'm sorry, they were land management people. If the costs were fair. And I said, geez, thank you. We can work on that. Now, Mr. Kovac, talking to him, he said that we were not implementing our inspection programs properly. I said, really? Because we have ordinances on exterior maintenance, and we do have ordinances covering interior safety issues of that nature. He said to me, he said that if you go to a property and there is exterior violations, you can get it warned. Get in that property. I said, really? I don't think so. Well, he tells me I'm wrong. I'm not going to argue with him. I'll read you something about what I inquired about. I was told by a staff person who worked on 176. The context of a lot of that came from his office. After our conversation, I inquired regarding the availability of inspection warrants for interior property inspections. Specifically, you inquired whether the existence of minor exterior property maintenance code violations would serve as a basis for obtaining an inspection warrant to inspect the interior of a property for possible property maintenance code violations. The short answer to your inquiry is no. As you are aware, in order for a court to issue an inspection warrant to inspect the interior of a property, the court must be satisfied based upon sworn affidavit and/or testimony that there is probable cause to believe that an alleged violation of the property maintenance code in the interior of the property exists. Mere suspicion of the existence of interior property maintenance code violations is not sufficient to obtain a warrant. You know, I can go on and on and on. It covers the thing, the existence of minor exterior maintenance code violations, like peeling paint, missing downspouts, missing screens, and similar code violations do not necessarily translate to non-operational furnaces or plumbing or electrical. And that's true. Sometimes the exterior of something doesn't reflect what the interior is like. But then again, sometimes the interior doesn't reflect what the exterior is. When you're looking at a situation, and it's a shame, it's a rotten shame, because I've met a lot of great landlords. I even met a couple of good property managers. How do we address the ones that are giving the people in the rental business a black eye? How do we do it? Do you license the tenants? Your prospective tenants, you got to go down and pass a test and get a license. So you know that you don't bust out a window when it's 90 degrees outside with no air conditioning. Put your window in there so you can sit outside and watch TV. Is that what you got to do? No, you got to license food servers. Why don't we license tenants?
Good idea.
Yeah, good idea. That's not going to go too far. Now when you turn around and you look at the state, because I'm getting off track here, I was told by an individual that had input on 176 that we can go in on an inspection. We can't. They're making rules up there. They don't even know what it's about. It's so frustrating. Then I turn around and I had a constituent send me something, because they're telling me that Act 176 is preempting everything the municipality of the state of Wisconsin can do when it comes to addressing rental units, bad rental units. Now my constituent sends me something here. It's called Bad Landlords in Federal Housing Complaints. Federal. Hundreds of landlords have been fined and are debarred from doing business with the federal government as a result of failing to provide safe and decent housing for the poor. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? The feds. The feds have rules. We don't. Who's suffering by us not having rules? Everybody. You have a home in an area, you buy it. All the houses around it are junk. Cars busted down in the yard. Broken fences. Bare spots in the lawn. They use the front of the house alongside the porch to park their cars. Mud holes. Railing busted on the porch. Busted out windows. You got a nice house. A really nice house. You're renting it. You can get good tenants in there? Think about it. It's a win-win situation if you have some type of control where you can stay on top of these people. The government's not out here to hurt anybody. You know who gets hurt? Everybody, when you have Republicans with a total disregard for what's in the best interest of the people. And believe me, I am neither Republican nor Democrat. I'm an independent person. I go on the issues and the people representing the issues. I back Republicans and I back Democrats. I back more Democrats than I have Republicans because there are not a lot of independents in Wisconsin. I look at the issues and I look at what needs to be done. I was elected to represent people. I wasn't represented, I wasn't elected to be a representative of what my ideals are only, and the hell with the constituents. It doesn't work that way with me. I worked in line of communications up with everybody throughout the whole city over this. And it's the neighborhood. The overall neighborhood. Ma'am, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I mean, I really don't want to get into a conversation back and forth. Ma'am, please, let me finish. I'm going to bring this all right up to date to today. All right? Then, ma'am, it is. But let me finish, then I'm going to open it up, okay? But what I don't want to do is turn this into accusations and finger pointing or at anybody. You've got something to say, you got an issue you want to bring forward, you got concerns you want to address, believe me. Somebody's out here taking notes, we will look into that. I'll give you a card, you can call me after the meeting. Okay, so basically, where I'm at here is with the federal government. The federal government gives control. They've got contact numbers. To report a bad landlord, and this is for multifamily housing, this is for people like with, HUD on the federal programs. They have it for that, but they don't have it for you people. You mean to tell me you got to belong to a federal housing program to get neighborhood protection? That ain't right. Here's the other one. Landlord Tenant Act. This is also from the federal government. Print's too small, I can't read it, I'm sorry. But they have a different ballgame at the federal level. But when we try to adopt their standards, we have a state that's saying we can't have it. Oshkosh is going to have a decision rendered sometime this week. So we just have to wait and see which way that goes. And if it goes in the municipality's favor, it doesn't do anything for Kenosha, because we're outside that district. What I need you to do, if you want to do something, you want to have a better neighborhood for your tenants, you want to have better income, because if you have a good neighborhood, you got good property, you can get good tenants, and you don't have to play the money game. Call your legislators in Madison. Call the Republicans, because the Democrats are outnumbered. Put the heat on them. Put the heat on them. It has to come from you. I received some phone calls over the last few weeks that really upset me. We've called our aldermen. Not me. They just called me up. Because they were told that I've been working on the issue with the housing. I said, what's your problem? You people don't do nothing. You don't do nothing. I didn't like that. I know what them people do. I know what they go through. I did ride-alongs with them. Their hands are tied by the state, by the people that are in the majority. I'm looking out here, people are looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and I think you have access. You got online access. Look up Act 76, 176, housing. Look up 20. I got a couple other ones. I'll give you my card. You can call me. I'll give you the numbers. Since they've been in power in Madison, they've enacted, I think Mr. Barca told me, approximately 104 acts through repeal and recreate that took away the ability of municipalities to address concerns that are unique and specific to their municipality. It's not fair. So I turned around and through our legal department, Assistant City Attorney Mulligan, City Attorney Anarinium, more so Mr. Mulligan, and with the inspection department with Mr. Laban, Mr. Sanchez, and our Public Works Director, we did a lot of work. 6+ years. Then we read in the paper about what's going on up north. This was the last draft, which was October of 2015. And this is probably the third or fourth one that we did, because every time we did a draft, we bring it forward, they were changing stuff in Madison. We were behind the 8 ball before we even got started. Now, Act 176, that put the frosting on the cake. It's garbage. Folks, don't be mad at the city. Do not be mad at the city inspectors. We can't do anything. We really can't do anything. The stuff we do get done, it's all cosmetic. And the redundancy is fantastic because I'll guarantee you it's going to come back and it's over and it's over and it's over again. They come into compliance, they fall out of compliance. They come into compliance, they fall out of compliance. We're like a dog chasing our tail. I feel bad. I feel real bad. I cannot help my constituents. My constituents initiated this. I was their front person. You got to understand, neighborhoods never change. People change. The house I'm living in was built 110 years ago. That house ain't changed. I put some siding and windows on it. Remodel the interior. Lives like your home. Your home doesn't change. The people change the neighborhoods. The people change what you see today. And if we don't have the ability to address them problems, do you really think it's going to get better? So when you turn around and you read an article like this in the paper, I'm not after landlords. I'm after the bad landlords, the slum landlords, the ones that don't have any consideration. And you know they're out there. I see some landlords here that I know, and I respect them. Because they not only do a good job with their properties, they have concerns for their tenants and how they live. I've been in homes where the people were afraid to call the city on a complaint. So I was talking to them. I gained their confidence. I went in. A bathtub. They had knob and tube wiring in the house. They took a clamp, clamped it to the drain pipe on the bathtub. I went there because the woman told me that the furnace wasn't working right. The furnace wasn't working right when I got there. It was in bad shape. But then I'm looking around the house. I called the inspector in. They had the people move out of the house. The landlord's going to sue me. I told him the truth. Well, how'd you get in the house? I lied. I said, they were friends of mine. I'm not going to tell them that the woman agreed to let me in. They were friends of mine. I was over there for a visit. That's all. I said the furnace wasn't working, so I went in the basement, I seen it. But I got to lie. How about that? Well, I know. They don't have, but they do it. They do it. I've seen homes that they made an apartment out of an attic. It had one bathroom for 3 floors. Wasn't a good job either. Just so you people know why I back my constituents. I had constituents that were, my God, Mrs. Ruffalo. She was born in 1910. Was born in the house next door to me. She used to cry. She just passed away here just a couple years ago. 104 years old, 103 years old. She used to cry. She'd look out her window. She could not believe, here's a lady in her hundreds. How Mrs. Savalio's house deteriorated. Mrs. Ruffalo's house deteriorated. We had the Mirabellis. All them homes. You should see them. It's a shame. But they're at minimum code. They're at minimum housing code. Minimum standards. On the outside. I'd like to get inside them homes. I know. You won't get in them either. So, what I'm telling you is that go home, rest assured. As long as the Republicans are in power, and you have judges that are ruling in their favor to take away the ability of municipalities to invoke home rule, we're not going to have any landlord licensing program. We're not. But I'm going to set on this because I made a promise to my constituents, and everybody that knows me, take my word to the bank. I said, we will get something done. You can't have good development in some of these older neighborhoods because of the trash that's around there. It's impossible. And I'm passionate about that. Older neighborhoods have character. You people know that? And young people, I don't care if they get mad, they're stupid. They're idiots. I'm going to move in the suburbs. I'm going to give you a $300,000, $400,000 home. Yeah. Go do it. You have kids, your wife's working, you're probably working a part-time job for a status. I'm not proud. I love where I live. I love my neighborhood. My rental unit upstairs paid my house off. That's a financial boom. They don't look at it that way. Let somebody else make the money. And you don't make money as a landlord. I bought the house behind me to protect me. We had a landlord from Milwaukee. There was a revolving door with tenants. Sitting in my backyard one night just trying to enjoy a soda. Ketchup bottle comes flying over the roof of my garage from across the alley. And I heard a lot of nice language. I went up over there, the guy's on the porch, goes, what's going on? He goes, she's nuts, she's nuts. I walk up the stairs, she throws a knife through the door. Nice people. Ma'am, I like what you said. Because you have homeowners, in some cases, they're lazy, they're ignorant, okay? They're loud and disruptive. Homeowners, that I know. And you're right. But we have to put the...
Everybody get targeted.
You know what? You know what? If it's an owner occupied and they create the problems like these people created, when the police come over there, now they can do something. That unit behind me, I used to call the police probably 3 times a month. They'd come over there. I'd call the company up in Milwaukee. They'd boot them out after 30 days. They'd get somebody else in. They were worse than the last people they threw out. It was bad. So then the house went up for sale. Oh, I had to buy it. And I wasn't fortunate. I didn't buy it in 2009. I bought it in 2000. I paid a premium price for it. And I had to stick a ton of money in that home. A ton. But you know what? I got a little peace and quiet. It's nice on that corner. I have the other corner. The house next door to me, thank God. And I hope the guy keeps up what he's doing. Mr. Daly, he's got good tenants in there. They keep the property clean. But unfortunately, there's only 3 owner-occupied homes on that block. I've got one house across the street, middle of the block. The police know the people's names by heart. Give them the address. They know it. Drugs, around the corner, guns. Down the street, drugs. Gunfire, gunshots. Go west of me, 22nd to 26th, 50th to 56th. Walk down there some night, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Carry your purse, walk down there, you know, leisurely. If you make it to the end, I'll buy you a steak dinner. Not good. Anyway, with that being said, we can't do anything with this ordinance. We can't. It's a shame, because like I say, there's 2 losers on this thing over here. All right, I'll tell you what. We're going to open this up to a little bit of a town hall meeting, and like I say, I don't want anybody getting to the point where we're going to start accusing people of they did this, they did that, or this ain't being done, that ain't being done. I don't want anybody to be negative with the city, not because of an alderman, I've dealt with the city before I was an alderman. And unless you do a ride-along with them and see what their workload is, from the administration all the way on down through the police department, the fire department, our housing inspectors, don't criticize them. They do a fantastic job for what they have to work with. If you want to do right by everybody in this city, get on the phone, get on the computer, call the Republican legislature and call the Democrats. Tell them you've had enough. They ain't gonna do nothing to me. You can tell them I told you to call them. I don't care. I've already called them more than once. And I was misled when I did call them. For the defense of Mr. Barca, Mr. Wirch, Mr. Onstead, they said, Patrick, you're right, we need to do something. We really need to do something. If you put something together, we'll take it. It'll never get out of the starting gate. And I said, why? He said, because we're outnumbered. We're outvoted. You know, how can somebody from a township of 800 people vote for that type of legislation? I got them right here. Got them right here. The problem that you have, Oshkosh has a college. Housing issues because of the high density of people around the college. They can't address it. Fond du Lac, or La Crosse, Beloit, Waukesha. They got bad problems. But don't forget, you're talking cities that are like us. Green Bay has problems, but I think they're Republican control. Although they'd have something like that. They put these ordinances into effect. They were implemented prior to all this coming up. And they were working. The numbers proved themselves out. Calls for service went down. Calls for service go down. The cost of operating the city stays down. Here's another thing. Somebody called me up after the article broke Saturday. Alderman Juliana, you're just trying to make money for the city. Whoa. You don't know what I wanted to tell that guy. And his wife was in the background. You know what I really wanted to tell her. Because I can hear her in the background going, why do we even live in this city? Every time they need money, they're throwing fines out there. They're throwing fees out there, licenses out there. I said, sir, I said, the only thing I can tell you is by law. The city can't make a profit. That's law. They can cover costs. That's it. I met a lot of very nice, educated people, a lot of reasonable people over this deal over the last 6+ years. But have I met some winners? Oof. If the wind's blowing out of the north, and you put your ear to the north, you'll hear a whistle on the south side of their head. Not too smart. People like that, can't talk to them, you can't reason with them. But anyway, please, if you feel something is needed, call. Now, with that, we're going to start in the back row. We're going to work crossways, okay? You'll have to give me a minute, so I want to write your name down for the record. Hi. All right. Mr. Alderman Mihalski, would you like to jump in on this?
We have, in the 3rd district, probably more problem housing than you have in yours. But I'm not going to denigrate the people in CDI. Generally, they're working really hard to fix it, and since with the new administration in there now, they're being a little bit, giving a little less time, a little less slack for the outdoor stuff. The indoor stuff, I understand what you're talking about, and I understand the problems. But the outdoor stuff, you can call your alderman about the outdoor stuff, because generally there's something with the outdoor stuff, garbage, maintenance, things like that they can be addressed.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alderman Pat?
Well, I do agree that this is a problem. It needs to be addressed. It's just a matter of time to see what's going to happen in Oshkosh with the state, with the federal court. If it proves that it's upheld and the city can do something about it, I think Kenosha should seriously look at that. Of course, government doesn't want to get into people's business, but it's not about that, in my opinion. It's a product. Rental units are a product, and I think landlords should supply a nice product, a nice service to the people who live in the city.
I'm going to add to that. We should be able to take tenants to task. I'm sorry, tenants that vandalize a property, wreck a property, we should be able to put them in jail. Not a slap on the wrist. Put them in jail.
And we need to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Well, then again, your hands are tied. Government. You people really don't realize what's transpired over the last probably 4 or 5 years. Madison has taken away a lot of the home rule ability. When I talk home rule ability, that's about local municipalities where there's a problem. For the municipality to be able to go out there and drop the hammer on people. Anybody here? Like to speak? There's a card going to get a hold of me. Anybody here?
Yeah, Carl Drexler. I got 10 tenants. They don't want nobody in their house. They're happy and they want to be left alone. They don't want people coming through their house.
Well, you see, Charles, that was a big misnomer about the ordinance. The structure of the ordinance, and like I say, it's not going to go through because of the structure of our state statutes right now. But it's not search and seizure violation of the Fourth Amendment. You're a good landlord. You got 10 tenants. Good. But understand something. The property is going to be inspected under this proposal for 2 years, and then they get a freebie. All right? It will not be inspected for the 3rd year. And when they go in on an inspection, they're not jackboots. They're not Gestapos. They're going to go in. They're going to look at safety issues. Plumbing, sanitation, electrical. I mean, if they walk in and they see a bunch of drugs on a counter, they're not going to turn them in. It's not their business. They're there to inspect the building. And you know what? It's actually beneficial if you have them do that, because if you do have a problem with the tenants, then you go to court, the inspection will show there was nothing wrong with the property at the time of inspection. So, I mean, people, they get very, very scared at something new. But Charles, do you have my card? I'd be willing to go more into detail on that if you want to give me a call. Anybody else like to speak on that?
My name is Michael. I only have a total of 3 buildings, 2 in Kenosha and 1 in Racine. Instead of, when the city goes out to look at these exterior problems, I think instead of, send a letter, of course, to the landlord, but if there's a money fine or a cleanup fine associated with it, the landlord should not have to bear that, because the landlord the only authority a landlord can do is evict them. That's it. That's all we can do. We should not have to bear the money fines for cleaning it up. The tenant should be the one who has to bear the money fine. In other words, if it costs $1,000 for the city to come in and clean up a mess, a tenant, garbage, whatever, the tenant who is in the unit, or the tenants, I should say, who have possession of the unit, should have to bear the cost, and the landlord should not have to be fined. If the landlord, and I don't know how licensing is going to benefit this, I just don't see it. I think the tenants should have to pay the cost for everything, damages, everything.
There's a lot of truth in that. How do you get at the tenants? How do you really get after the tenants? The problem is you get some tenants, they might be on a voucher program. They don't have anything. The problem that you have here, and like I say, I don't want this to turn into a back and forth debate. I want to hear the people, what they have to say, where we're going. And he's right. He's right. There's been some cases to where I can't say it's unjust, but then again, it comes back down to what a lot of the constituents are telling me. The landlord rents it out. He's not living there. Whose responsibility is it? That's what they're telling me. I tell them the owner of the property. Tenant doesn't own it. The tenant has possession of it. If the rent is paid, they don't own the property. If it's a mess on the outside, the landlord, they got options. Send the tenants a letter, give them a time frame, evict them. They don't do that, and it's a continuous problem. I'm sorry to say it. It's your property. You have to comply, and you will get fined.
What tenant does damage to the interior and is gonna tell you that there's a problem inside to fix when they know that you're gonna make them pay for it, and then you guys walk in there and say, hey, there's issues, but the landlord never knew about it, so we're getting fined because they didn't want anybody to know they damaged it.
If the inspection program was able to be implemented on a yearly basis, for the first 2 years, they will be there, they will inspect it. If there's a problem after that inspection, that'll hold up.
Because we have them fill out inspection reports when they move in.
We do,
Everything's fine.
we take pictures,
Yeah.
we fill out that. I had one tenant, it was minimal, I think it was about $1,100 in damage. It would have cost me more to go to court to try and get the money from her. When I fixed it. The one that I told you about was $2,800. That was a one-bedroom apartment. That was damaged. Not counting 3.5 months rent I got stuck with. I'm not immune to your problems, people. I do my due diligence to make sure I have good people in there. I don't tolerate anything. And what I don't do,
Is discriminate to get that good person in there?
you know what? That is not in my vocabulary.
Well, you don't want it to be in your.
No, it's not, and it never will be. Never will be. I've got an interesting family. When you turn around, what you brought up, when you look at what damage is done throughout the city to neighborhoods by homeowners, by slum landlords, okay, and break them down individually. A lot of that damage isn't worth you taking them to court to get the money.
But if you don't take them to court, then me as a new landlord doesn't know that they had a problem in your unit, because it's not a record.
They won't make a record of it either.
Yeah, because you file an
If you file an eviction notice, it does that. It did that on that one guy over there.
Go to court for damages.
But
But
try-
now I can look on CCAPs and go, hey, that tenant's, got issues. He's been evicted. I don't have to take.
What would you do if you had a girlfriend and she come and rent it from you, and the same person ended up over there?
They'll have to be listed on the lease. Or they don't want to.
You know what? You know what? I entered in, I was gonna finish, but I used to do that with the lease deal. I used to do that. You're 100% right. You know what I did now? Month to month.
Used to have an occupancy permits in the city of Kenosha up until 2010, 2011, and they went away.
Thank
Why?
you. Thank you.
Why?
Why? That one there, I'll look into it, I'll get you an explanation.
That was on the inside of the building because we had to go through it.
We still have occupancy for new construction. I don't think we ever had it for rental units.
Well, yes, you did. We
Uh,
own 6020 12th Avenue, we own 5120 right back here.
Ma'am,
We had to go through it.
Ma'am, give me a call, I'll get all that information from you, and I'll find out why that went away.
These guys do know it.
Pardon?
They're the housing people, aren't they?
No, no. They're legislators.
Inspectors, what?
I will get that information for you. Yes, sir.
I just want to make one comment. If I understand what you said in the half hour, you're not going forward with this ordinance,
No.
correct? Good.
Ed-
Then why are we
Ed-
saying?
I want a town hall meeting to hear from the people and what their concerns are.
My concerns to this neighborhood, we have a bad reputation to get good renters here. We go in here, we rehab our buildings, we try to make them the best possible for our tenants to come in. They are new flooring, new appliances, new this and that, and we can't rent them because of the drugs, the crime, and the reputation of this neighborhood. If we can get that cleaned up, maybe we can get good tenants in our buildings and get them cleaned up. We have called the aldermen in here for trash in buildings, for garbage left in the curb. We have done the whole round to try to make a good place for people to live.
Thank you very much.
We get trash.
Thank you very much. What do you think I just said this past half hour I've been speaking? You're 100% right. Now, we try to implement a program. A lot of people want it, and we need it. A lot of people don't want it because we're infringing on their constitutional rights. You know what? Something has to be done. You are coming from the same area I'm coming from.
We make the calls, nobody answers. We call them and we make the complaints, nobody comes out and finds them for the trash. When we call the police department, it doesn't happen. We have copper ripped out of our buildings, nobody does anything about it, okay? We're working our asses off to make this neighborhood better. And then you come up with this?
Ma'am, I'm going to take, that I don't like. I brought this forward because of my constituents who have the same problems you have. And this is the only thing that we could find that was going to be workable. And in the beginning of this meeting, I said, if you have an idea that's going to be workable to address the problems that you have, because I've got the same problems, I'd be willing to listen.
Can you get them to look at a building just over there on the other side of Boys and Girls Club with the gutters falling off the houses?
Ma'am, you give me a call. I will write everything down that you have, and I promise you, I'll get back to you. You got my card. All right, go ahead.
A couple weeks ago, I had shots fired on my house. All right? You landlords need to start looking at your tenants. That rot is coming from there. Garbage out in the streets. Put some lids on the garbage cans. Look at your leases. Get with a lawyer. See what you can put in there. Instead of whinging about everything all the time. Get with the state representatives, the Democrats.
Right.
Other cities.
And the Republicans.
No. And the other cities in the state.
Right.
And bring them to federal court on that law.
Huh? We got to do something. We're going to wait and see what the Federal Appeals Court rules on. Anybody over here? Yes, ma'am.
We have a lot of government in our lives. There's a lot of good landlords, just like there's a lot of bad landlords. What this ordinance to me proposes is that you're going to penalize the good landlords right along with the bad landlords.
You know, it's not really penalizing anybody. You think it is? No. Everybody's going to be treated very fairly through this, but to get at the bad landlords, unfortunately, got to go through the good ones. And ma'am, I'm a landlord. So, I mean, it's...
And I have been for a lot of years.
Sure.
And I keep my properties up. I have no issues. None.
And I'm happy for you.
Could create an issue. And you know what? I've not always had good tenants.
Well, I haven't either.
There be tenants, too, that have left me with a lot of money that I've had to spend for that, for rehabbing properties.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that I'm a bad landlord.
You
It
know,
means that I had some crappy tenants in there.
when you turn around and you make a statement like that, you're not doing any justification to yourself, because the proposal that came forward and came out of a meeting with 55 plus people, they were involved in that. And it was covered in the newspaper in 2010. Now, I've heard from people that called me up, I've been a landlord for years. Where were you in 2010? I couldn't make the meeting. Not my fault. This is input from people like you. They're residents of the city. You're not going to please everybody. You can debate this thing until elephants fly. Elephants don't fly. Nothing's going to get done because of what is transpired politically up in Madison. And to say that this is an unfair cost, it's not true. It is not true, because when you look at it, if you get to the slum landlords, you get to the trash, you have to treat everybody fairly. In the end, the way it's going to turn out, because we've seen the numbers down in Illinois. Overall calls for blight, deterioration, and crime went all the way down. Went all the way down. I mean,
And
they,
you moved here to Wisconsin.
thank you, because we don't have that.
No, because we just.
They jumped the border. There's people that own rental units and big rental units in Wisconsin.
They come up for a welfare that way.
I'm talking to property investors, the people that invest in property, the people that buy rental units. We have them from Illinois. We got inspectors, we got, I think, 1 or 2 inspectors that used to work in Illinois that came up here and who live here now. They're chasing landlords here that they used to chase in Illinois. And I went down to Illinois and I talked to the people down there at their city level. And I said, we know about these people. They knew them. They divested their interest. They came up here. I said, you got any landlords that like this program? And I went to meet them. They love it. They love it. Better housing stock. Better clientele. And they can demand the real rates. Because you get homes that are fixed up like yours, like mine, in the areas that you're talking about, Bill, that you're talking about, you can't get what the market would bring you. You can't. You get rid of the slums, things will take care of itself. But unfortunately, everybody in business, I was in business 48 years, I never like to pay more money than I feel I have to. That's human nature. And I understand that. Yes, sir.
I'm probably pretty fortunate because I happen to live in the property. My name's John Brunner. I live west of St. Joe's High School. I've owned the house on and off for 70 years.
God bless you.
I live in it, so I make sure my apartments are up to snuff. And I've always had good tenants. I screen them. But I know everybody doesn't have that option. When you got a lot of units, you have to take potluck sometimes. But what I'm saying, if you could implement something like this, implement it, what's to stop you from going into a place and an electrical is horseshit? Excuse me. That's a $500 fine. If you walk into my place and it's clean, it's up to snuff, you give me my permit, you say, fine, you're done, you're okay. Don't charge me because my apartment are my retirement. Sure. But if you can take and find somebody before they turn around, make it livable, if there's no plumbing or this or complaints, slap some fines on them to help defer the cost for all of us who are trying. We wouldn't be here if we didn't care.
No, I realize that, John, and I really appreciate you showing up at the meeting. But like I say, the ordinance was just a proposed ordinance. And like I said, we can't move forward with it. But anytime you have a new ordinance, there's always amendments. You always tweak it. When you set up a fee schedule, you look at it. There's always amendments, you always tweak it. But I felt that enough's enough. Because like I started getting phone calls again saying, oh, Reverend Juliana, you had that meeting 6 years ago. Whatever happened? I said, it's at the state level, we're waiting. It's sitting on our desk. We can't do this, can't do this, can't do that. And they understood. But then when I started getting phone calls that this administration isn't doing anything, I went through the roof. This administration that we have today has become very, very aggressive. Very aggressive. When our inspectors go out now, and believe me, but for a city of, I think we had 100,000 people now, first-class city, we only have 5 inspectors. 5 inspectors. And when they go out, they rate up a property, they got to go back, they got to get it filed, they got to get it put in their system. It's going to take probably about a week. Letters go out to the owner of the property, homeowner, landlord, whatever. And this is the best one. This is the best one. This is the best one. You live at 5413 35th. You live there. But your property's at 610 Fifth Avenue. They go there, find a bunch of violations. They go in and put it in the system. Guess what they send the letter to? 610. So your tenant gets it, they throw in a garbage can. Inspector waits whatever, 15, 30, 45 days, right, they go back out there.
I understand they send it for the taxpayers.
A lot of times, the property owners don't have the correct address or contact numbers down at City Hall. So now the inspector,
They don't think the tax bills are in?
it's a quagmire down there. Because they ask contact information, they ask mailing address. We should have a register program. You wouldn't have this problem. You're right, we're on the same page.
You do have one. You have the tax bill.
The tax bill is not a registration program. It does not tell the city that the property is a rental unit. It does not tell the city any contact information on who owns the property. Okay?
That's where the bill goes.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, with the bill open.
When the inspection department goes out there, correct me if I'm wrong, do you guys work out of the assessor's office?
We send bills, letters, everything to the record, address on record according to the tax record.
Okay?
The tax record shows.
But wait a minute. The tax record is the address of the property. How many
I can tell you right now, on average, on federal complaints, I get these 5 or 6 that you're complaining about house number 1, the owner lives at house number 20, but the address, the tax bill goes to house number 1. The owner, I know the owner doesn't live there, but I can't send it anywhere else. That's where I have to send it by ordinances to that address. So when the owners come down and they don't put down their correct address, that's where we mail them to. Then we go out, do the reinspection, here's your fine. Then they come in, well, we never got the notification. You gotta change your address. I don't know where you're at. The taxes doesn't always go to the proper address. Now, we have no control over that, that'd be clerks. I don't know how they would do that, but I can tell you a lot of our, I wish I would have brought one with it. I mean, it just says that they live there, and they don't. I'll give you what, 6300 10th Avenue. I got a complaint on it. Owner says they live there. He's in the Army somewhere, but that's where the taxes go. It was bandaged by a certain person, and could never get hold of the owner. Didn't know where to send anything else to. We get a lot of those.
And this is what I said. It's not always the address that's listed at the assessor's office. So that creates problems. Okay, let's get this section right here. You're good? Everybody good here? How about over here? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Ron Schwartz, and I'm a little worried about a license from a quagmire, but mostly I'm concerned. I have one rental property. It's a house that we grew out of. And it occurs to me that if you've got one property or 2 properties, you've got to be a good landlord. And someone says that this isn't about good landlords. Well, it's about me because it says I got to get a license. I got to worry about all these fines and things like that. I've got to know my tenants. I've got to keep my property up. And the problems you're talking about are not 1 or 2 landlord properties owners. There are people who've got a lot of things. So if you go forward with this, I hope that you'll bear that in mind and then think about a way to construct it so it doesn't apply to people who just got 1 or 2 properties or 3 properties.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the input. Anybody else?
Aaron Comer, I'm a realtor, I'm also a landlord. My comment was, I guess I don't know why we would need an ordinance for this, why we couldn't just use the inspection laws in the books right now and force, because I know I've had one property like 13 years. I've had very few instances in the last 10 years, I'd say, that I've gotten cited. But I had, many instances probably 10 years ago. So I would say get stricter on the enforcement. But also, if you're doing a good job as a landlord, shouldn't market forces bear out where you're not keeping up your properties, people will move out and people will come to me if I'm keeping it up. So I guess I don't see it. I want more people like you to own property, with that owns 1 or 2. So I run into a lot of people that, I don't want to, it's too much of a hassle with you. Now you need to get a license. It's just,
This scares
we
me.
want to raise property values, not, that would, to me, the goal would be like Chrysler said, let's get some investment there, let's get some property values up in the middle of the city. To me, that would do much more than a license ordinance.
Well, you know what? You can turn around, and what you said, you had rental units for 13 years?
Yeah.
Okay, and you feel that a licensing program would be a burden
For somebody newer, yes, yeah.
for somebody newer? But you know what? The ordinance is not carved in stone. It's a baseline. And I'm gonna say it again. We had a meeting back 6+ years ago. We had 55+ people, very good turnout, a lot of input. We took that input, we came up with this ordinance. Now you have to understand something. You gotta have a baseline to start from. But when you turn around, a rental unit is a rental unit, whether it's 1, 5, 10, or 20. If you start making exceptions, now you run afoul of the law. Now you're violating somebody's constitution. Okay? So when you look at these, this isn't, believe me, it's not fun and games. We have attorneys that look into this stuff, they look at the legalities, they look at the constitutional issues on them. A lot of work goes into these. And like I say, you're not going to please everybody, but everybody's got one complaint. Crime, blight, and deterioration takes away from neighborhoods. Well, you know, that point was brought up, and understand something. The housing ordinance that we have right now on the books today, with the exception of even the exteriors, are complaint-based. It's all complaint-based. When the problems are on the interior, ma'am, I'm sorry.
They take sections in neighborhoods.
Ma'am, that does not get the whole city. That addresses sections once a year, and it's only in the older established districts. We've got a lot of housing. In my district alone, I got 72% owner occupied. 72%. It's a massive number. And I have that every year. We get maybe 4 to 6 blocks that we hit.
I think the city needs help with their
We
inspection.
do about, we were from, I think this year we're doing 7 sections.
Huh? 7.
Doing about 1,500 homes.
Either
A year.
You gotta hire people to inspect.
That's the whole city, though.
Hire somebody to inspect everything.
Yeah, citywide. We're only doing about approximately 1,500 homes. Citywide. Citywide. Come
So how are you
on.
gonna do all these rental units?
Ma'am, we get started on that. We are not gonna go out and do them. They're gonna be voluntary the first year. We're not having the program anyway, so I'm not even gonna go there. The program's not even gonna go there until the state changes their mentality. Okay?
How many more people are the city needs to hire? You want to get another program when you don't have enough people to do the job that's already there.
And you're not.
We have inspections on properties, and they're not being taken care of properly.
Ma'am, if we were gonna go forward with this, and we're not, because of the way the state's structured, we were not gonna take and do the whole city at one time. It was gonna be volunteer,
I
ma'am.
have property in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I have an inspection.
Mm-hmm.
I love my inspection.
Okay.
Do I think it's going to work here in Kenosha? Absolutely not.
Why?
Because they can't even, the departments can't even run the programs that they already have.
See, and that's wrong.
Fix what is broken
No.
before you try to start something new.
I think that's wrong, because Waukegan, who you're probably talking about, right, Waukegan?
No, I'm in Round Lake Beach.
Round Lake Beach, okay, it's a little bit smaller, but everything south of the border is pretty close to what we are, as far as personnel
Their
goes and stuff.
inspections are a lot different. And
Well,
when
their
you're
inspection's been going for probably 8 to 12 years, and when they started out in small increments.
When you're talking about inspections,
Let
you're
it
talking
finish.
about interior inspections of property. When inspectors are going in and saying, you need to paint, you need to change the carpet, that's what everybody
That's
is
not true.
talking about.
That is not true. That is not true. Whoever brought that up is misinformed or they're totally ill-informed. They're looking for safety and health issues. And I did discuss this at one of the landlord meetings, because you and I were together at the VFW. They're only going to go in and look for sanitation,
That's a tenant.
electrical, things of that nature. They're not coming to tell you you got to paint it. If the ceiling's cracked and the plaster's falling on the floor, they're going to tell you to get that fixed. Yeah. But they're not going to come and say, well, you change the carpet.
That could be sanitation. If a tenant's leaving their garbage on the
You know, if their kids are pooping on the floor and they don't clean it, they got cats that are urinating on the floor and they don't clean it, that's a health issue. All right? I mean, no, we can sit here and go on and on and on.
You can go on and on about it, but I'll tell you, if you have tenants that are doing that, then you're not a very good landlord.
Thank you, thank
You're
you,
doing inspections. I
Thank-
do quarterly inspections on my property.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Are there enough inspectors that we have in the city right now, if this was implemented tomorrow, to do this?
No.
No, there's not. Because number one,
Then
it's a proposal. Once it moves along through the courts, then we turn around and we adjust accordingly to bring people on board. Okay?
So we hire more people.
Well, yes, but there's a different way to go about it. We have a lot of retired people. We got people coming in, they're looking for 20 hours a week, whatever. So you can bring them in that way. It lowers your amount of cost, you know, to implement the program. And the first year is going to be all voluntary, so you're not going to have a big influx coming in. So within that year, it gives us some time to move personnel around, bring personnel on board to help get the program going. But like I say, we're talking about things that are really not going to happen now because of the political fiasco that's going on at our state level. But if anybody has any ideas, which is different than your Illinois program, call me. I'll give you my card. Call. Let me know. I'm open for suggestions.
There were a couple of people over here with their hands raised.
Single-family homes that are rental units that are blighted,
No,
they...
they're all homeowners
Give me a call.
that are leaving their buildings to deteriorate next to ours. Who addresses those?
Well, call your alderman. Anybody else?
Hey, Mr. Giuliani, how many times have you tried this before? The city?
Never.
Hasn't this got shut down? Oh, come on now, don't say never.
I
I've
never-
been around too long.
I never had a landlord licensing issue up on city council.
I mean, the city. This has come up many times before.
About housing?
You've done that shit, you know it.
Well, I'll tell you
How long
what.
have you been around?
I'll tell you, I'll take you back
Where
to
do you live?
1980. No, not over there. Tell my
You live
cousin.
where, and I live over here.
Yeah.
I'm in a different district.
In 1980, I ran. You know why I ran for alderman?
I know why you ran.
Why did I run? In 1980. I ran because of housing issues.
I know.
Yeah,
I was here.
I didn't try to implement any landlord licensing programs. I couldn't get nothing fixed in my district.
They've come through so many times, it's pathetic. And now we're back to the same thing. Why?
I don't think so, but
Don't you keep following? You said this goes back to
no.
2000?
I said
No.
2010.
Okay, 2010.
Mhm.
Now here it is 2017.
Why I wait so long?
Why all of a sudden?
Why I waited so long?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you. We turned around and we looked at all the municipalities in our state. We looked at Illinois and what they had. And then we looked at all the numbers to see how good the program was working. And then we drafted our first ordinance. When we drafted that first ordinance, we had to amend it. We had to redraft it because we kept getting in conflict with the changes that were happening up in Madison.
Why you blame Madison all the time?
Because they're the ones that write the state statutes, the state constitution. And you cannot implement a law that's contrary to state law.
But I say, you dug this up again, but how come the city, which owns a whole bunch of property, don't take care of their property? I know you don't want me to bring up.
No, you can bring it up because I don't have an answer for it. I don't know.
You bought some buildings, you okayed it.
We're tearing them down.
Why?
I okayed them. We're tearing them
Did you
down.
go inside the buildings and check them?
They raised them. So it must have not been
I
worth
say,
fixing.
did you look inside?
Me personally?
I remember some of them buildings down there when they were junk shops, you might as well say. The roof was caving in and everything else. And you paid all this money for a junk building.
No.
Why?
They bought it at the market value at the
Market
time.
value, that isn't worth.
Whatever the property was worth, that's what we paid
You
for
know
it.
the
And we're tearing them down.
olive place, the one across the street, I forget what it was.
I don't know which one that one was either. Yes.
Hi, Pat, how are you?
Let's go.
I got a couple of things. I'm gonna try to say this because I know I won't get another chance to talk.
Big sham.
So far, all I've heard from this meeting, for the first 45 minutes, you venting about all your personal stuff. You don't like Republicans, I understand that. You don't like the landlords. Let me say the thing I gotta say. You don't like landlords, and you lie. So after that, I don't know why I should believe anything else you said. But let me ask a question, and I think it's kind of been brought up in a roundabout way. How is this ordinance, if it ever got passed in the next 10, 20 years, how would this ordinance change anything that we couldn't do right now with all the inspections we have now, all the code stuff, all the code ordinance that we have now, that if they were enforced, like some people have said, if they were enforced, you could do all the inspection you want on the exterior, and this is your biggest problem, is the exterior so far, from what I can hear. And then to have, you know, what you want inspectors to go inside to inspect these houses, to look at electrical, plumbing, how are they qualified? How are these people qualified? I'm not personal against the inspectors, but do they have heating, electrical, plumbing certifications?
Well, sure they do.
Yes, they do. No. Yes, they do.
If they're inspectors,
No.
they got that.
No, they
Yeah, I'll address you. I'll address everything you brought
I
up here.
guarantee you they don't.
I don't want to get back and forth with you. I'll address everything you said. Number one, I said I don't hate Republicans. That's number one. I said the Republicans...
you don't like them. I didn't say
No,
you
don't. I don't like them. I didn't say that. I said the problems that are created because of the Republican majority. And what, I'm addressing... I don't want to debate this. And the other thing is...
Like the election says, elections have consequences. They want, get over it.
We're trying to do something for the betterment of... We're trying to do something for the betterment of the neighborhoods, okay? And,
See this?
Bill,
It's on the head.
Bill, take it easy.
What? What
Now,
does
take it easy.
This is getting out of hand.
Pat,
What you guys do affects my property value.
it affects everybody's property values. I mean, I don't understand what you're at. I can't see what does this hat say.
No landlord, if you own property, you want it to be good.
Exactly.
Everybody,
A lot of these problems that he's trying to address are coming from the tenants in the buildings.
you know,
I got nothing but a network of drug dealers around my house.
then you call the cops?
I do.
Oh, then it's not the landlord's fault.
Yes, it is.
Here, John,
Arrest them and get them locked up.
John, wait a second. Wait a second.
It can't be all.
John, wait a second, John. I don't want the meeting to get out of hand. I said we'll end it real quick. That's what it'll be. You know, John, you brought up some good points. Now, number one, I don't lie. Number two,
You just told me you lied.
no, I lied to get in the ladies to the.
A lie is a lie.
You know, John, you probably lied too.
Yes, I lied. I do.
Thank you very much. Now, John, understand something. Everybody that's in the rental business, I'm in it. I'm in it for one thing. Money, make a profit.
I hope so.
Okay, now, understand something. Everybody's bringing up the city don't do enough. You're bringing up about our inspectors. I'm getting tired of hearing it. Our hands are tied. John, our hands are tied. You know, drug houses, you know, the police department, if they see somebody doing a drug deal, they can't go and arrest them and boom, bust them right there. They have to make controlled buys. You know how much time that takes?
Yeah, it is tough.
Well, John,
But that's an issue that,
John,
then we gotta pass the laws.
John, these are issues that were brought up.
Right.
The problem that I'm here to talk about and to advise the people that what we worked on, what we talked about, and what the people wanted. Now, I want everybody that listened to this, because for some reason you got earplugs in or you got bad hearing. This proposal was brought forward because of constituent concerns. So now, if you turn around and you want to spin it, and you're just as bad as the slum landlords, don't spin it. We need to address the problem, and I brought it forward, John, I brought it forward. If you've got ideas better than this ordinance, call me. I'll give you my card.
Pat, this
No, John.
exterior inspections
I
have been
heard-
going on for 20 years.
John,
Has it helped?
I heard what you said. Our inspections as set up today, the format is complaint-based driven only. Now, John, there's been tenants that have called me. We're afraid to make a complaint.
Pat, that's
They got kids.
That's another lie, Pat.
It's a lie?
Yeah.
It's a lie?
Yeah.
You know what, John? I tell you, give me your business card. No, give me your business card. I'll bring the people over there. They just called me up about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I will bring the people over there.
So there's no systematic inspections going on?
We got systematic, and we talked about that over there, but
Well, that's not voluntary.
it's not the whole city.
What do you mean? It's systematic? It means that they don't have to be called upon, they just systematically go.
You know
That's
what,
the definition.
John, it's not an interior inspection.
John, what's your?
It's a
We're not
systematic
talking
exterior
about the interior,
inspection.
we're talking about exterior. That was the law. The
That-
exterior,
We're looking at a little deeper way to go, so we have a better housing stock.
but you said it was based only on calls. It's not based on...
No, outside of the systematic
That's
period.
not what you said.
John, you know, I said a lot of stuff tonight, there's a lot of things on the floor.
Okay.
Mark, our inspection department and the complaints we get outside of the systematic program, which is approximately 1,500 homes citywide, is it complaint-based driven only?
All complaints are.
Thank you very much.
Except for the systematic ones.
Right.
Well, then what...
That's what I just said.
No, you said there's none of them. They're all based on...
No. I corrected myself, and then I asked
After I
you.
brought it to your attention.
I corrected myself.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, next.
You want my card?
I mean, I don't want to say anything.
I'm excited because
You're buying
whom I think I am, and
One of the things that I read up on
you're John.
or
I'm John.
proposal to put inspectors through
Well,
homes
if you just.
as a
Yeah,
worse.
I got a name on your back.
And as a tenant, I consider myself fairly
Okay,
good. My landlord doesn't have any problems with me.
You
I have a problem with somebody wandering through my house once a year just because I'm a tenant.
You know what, that's a very good point, and that's something that we've addressed.
Yes.
But on the inspection, when they do come in, you will know that. It's not a forced inspection. They have to get permission to come into your property. Either landlord notification or city notification, if we were going to implement it. You will be, it's not where you'll knock on the door to come in, no.
People move in there.
Yeah, they would have to get the tenant's permission to come in the property.
They got no place for the dogs.
It'd be their option. Now, I don't know what the ramification would be. I'm not gonna say that, but I really don't know.
I know you, and I know this is,
You know what?
this is your.
That, you know what? That's another issue. They say it's under the Fourth Amendment, it'll be a certain procedure. And I'm not a federal lawyer, but these are things that they come forward. So, but,
There's an issue. You say that I own
you know what? You remember I said, I think I said it 3 or 4 times. If you got a better idea how to address the issue with the slum landlord and the rotten property, okay, please. I think I might have, no, you let me know. I mean, everybody got something negative to say, but nobody's got an idea on how to address it. Yes, sir. Right. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. We have some good input.
I don't even own a computer, I'm from the
Thank
old
you.
school.
Thanks again.
Getting